Thank you, Chris. Thank you for being our guest here for Torino Jazz Festival 2024. And how do you think your way of playing is evolving during the latest years of your career, between techniques, expression, interpretation?
I don't know. I think someone else might be able to better answer that question of how my technique and how my playing has evolved through the years. I tend to play often, you know, like I play every day. So when you play every day, your instrument just becomes a part of you. You don't think of it as an instrument anymore. So I think I'm at that point.
I think so. As a composer and musician, you faced big challenges, orchestral works, different groups, leading groups, session. Which are your closest targets now?
I still don't have, I don't believe that I have the discipline that makes a great composer the same way Chick Corea was a great composer, or Wayne Shorter was a great composer, or Mulgrew Miller, or somebody like that. But I try very hard to write music that that people will enjoy. You know, I think oftentimes jazz composers they might try to be a little too clever. You know, they might try to write music that is very similar to math or you know, different. There are very different. There's many different ways to compose, but at the end of the day, you want the person who knows nothing about music to enjoy it.
From your privileged observation point as artistic director of the Newport Jazz Festival, what do you think about the contemporary jazz scene?
There's a lot of great stuff going on in the contemporary jazz scene right now. Every generation has their own sound, has their own thing, and a lot of jazz fans are very famous for always, they turn their nose up at what the younger people are doing, but we can't afford to do that because the jazz community is so small already. We have to embrace what the young people are doing. So there's a lot of combining jazz with elements of hip hop and rock and electronic music and I mean, you know, lo-fi, all this kind of stuff, and I think it's very creative.
As a teacher, ambassador, radio host, a popularizer of jazz, what do you think can be the main contribution that this language can bring to society and culture?
Well, jazz for over a century has been bringing the sound of freedom to society. This music is the greatest representation of community and self, because when you hear someone play jazz, only them can sound like that. You know what I mean? Like you hear 10 people play the same song, it's 10 different ways, and you hear their personality, you hear who they are when they're performing. So jazz is the sound of freedom.
Regarding your experience as co-director of the National Jazz Museum in Harlem, I saw it like a difficult task to celebrate, to define, and to historically establish a precious heritage, and at the same time to take care of a very alive and mutating matter. How is it?
It's a challenge. When you say the word museum, you don't want to make it sound like what you're displaying or what you're presenting is something that's dead, because when you go to a museum, that's what you see, old things. But we are presenting a music that is very alive and well. So I've been involved with the museum now for exactly 20 years. This is my 20th year. And we have been able to do some very wonderful programming. We've had a lot of great musicians. We've done talks. We have a lot of young musicians now doing some curating there, so it's very contemporary. So even though it's called a museum, it's more like a center, a jazz center.
Jazz and your music has strong roots and ears turned to the future and the sound of a contemporary world. How do you imagine your music in the future?
I don't try to imagine my music in the future. It's impossible. I mean, 5 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that I would have this band that I have now. And somewhere along the way, I would say around 2019 or 2020, I thought that it's time for a new band, and they have to be younger musicians, because there's a whole generation of young musicians who play really, really well, and they need experience. You know, all my friends, all of my peers, all my contemporaries, they should be band leaders. They want to be treated as leaders, they should be leaders, you know. So it's now time to bring up the younger generation.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Oh,
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.